All right, gather around horror fans because I've got a spine-chilling tale for you today. This one's all about Aarav and his eerie encounter with the whispering shadows. So, dim the lights and let's dive in. Aarav never believed in ghosts. Growing up in a small village on the outskirts of Rajasthan, he'd heard all the stories about the abandoned mansion at the edge of town. The elders warned the kids to stay away, saying the spirits of the past roamed freely within its crumbling walls. But Aarav, a man of reason, dismissed these tales as mere superstition. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a haunting crimson, Aarav found himself standing before the towering iron gates of the mansion. His friends had dared him to spend the night inside, mocking his skepticism. Determined to prove them wrong, he accepted the challenge and stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and decay. The once grand hallways were now covered in dust. The paintings on the walls faded and torn. As he ventured further, the floorboards groaned beneath his weight, sending echoes through the hollow corridors. A sudden whisper cut through the silence. "Help me!" Aarav froze. The voice was faint, almost desperate. He turned sharply, but there was no one there. His pulse quickened as he pressed forward, convincing himself it was just the wind. The deeper he went, the colder it became. He reached a large room where the moonlight filtered through the broken windows, casting eerie patterns on the floor. In the center stood an old rocking chair, moving slightly as if someone had just left it. A chill ran down his spine. Ignoring his growing unease, he took out his flashlight and moved towards the grand staircase. As he ascended, the whispers grew louder, overlapping, a chorus of unseen voices murmuring in the shadows. He reached the second floor and found himself in a long hallway lined with closed doors. One door at the far end stood slightly ajar, revealing darkness beyond. His curiosity got the better of him, and he pushed it open. The room was empty, save for an old mirror leaning against the wall. Aarav stepped closer, peering into the glass. For a moment, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, behind his reflection, something moved. Aarav spun around, his breath hitching. The room was empty, but when he turned back to the mirror, his reflection remained motionless, staring at him with a twisted smile. A sharp knock on the door made him jump. His reflection moved on its own, lifting a hand to point at the door. Aarav swallowed hard, his hands trembling as he reached for the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a dark corridor that shouldn't have been there. The walls were lined with portraits, their painted eyes following his every move. The whispers were now deafening, pleading, sobbing. "Run!" Aarav's instincts screamed at him to leave, but his feet refused to move. A shadow slithered along the walls, growing larger, darker. The air turned heavy, pressing against his chest. Then a voice, clear and unmistakable, whispered directly into his ear. "You should not have come!" Aarav bolted. He ran through the corridor, down the stairs, past the rocking chair that was now violently swinging back and forth. The whispers turned into anguished screams, the very walls seeming to close in on him. As he reached the entrance, the iron gates slammed shut before him. The last thing he saw was a pair of glowing eyes staring at him from the darkness. The next morning, his friends came looking for him. The mansion stood silent, unchanged, but Aarav was nowhere to be found. And on quiet nights, when the wind is just right, the villagers swear they can still hear the whispers calling out from within. Stay tuned for more terrifying tales, and remember, sometimes it's best to leave the unknown unknown.